Reza, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Okay, what is Iran doing? The red line, what are they talking about? I mean, they're bombing, their proxy forces are shooting at our guys over in that region every day, it seems.
That's exactly the case. From the very beginning, the attitude of this regime has been repression at home and aggression abroad, using obviously its proxies, Hezbollah in Lebanon and Hamas in Gaza. That's how far the regime is apart from where the Iranian people are. The most heard slogan on Iranian street has been, neither Gaza, neither Lebanon, my life a sacrifice for Iran. What does that mean? That means the Iranian people know very well that what today the regime represents and calls for has nothing to do with their aspiration. The regime, on the other hand, is trying to push the envelope, trying to see whether they can take advantage of a weakness, which currently seems to be the case, and that's why they become emboldened every time the West hesitates or doesn't apply the necessary pressure as it should have to at least contain this. But ultimately, with the idea of putting an end to the problem by eliminating the regime once and for all. Otherwise, it will be just kicking the can down the road.
Yeah, it looks like that's what they're doing right now. But our president has been very clear. He has said, don't. That's all he said is don't. Shouldn't he say don't, or there's going to be hell to pay?
Look, I mean, words are words, but action determines the outcome. Right now, you have a situation where you have encouraged the regime that if you take hostages, you will be rewarded and get some more cash in your hands. You have called for sanctions, but you have never implemented them, like the oil sanctions. That is not what I call putting pressure. So, you know, be good boys and don't harm us. Is that the message?
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Reza, what does the pressure look like? Help the people of the State Department. They need some ideas.
Look, I mean, there has been a strategy of maximum support. And as I say, if it's actually implemented, and by the way, if your European allies were to also target and designate the IRGC as a terrorist organization, that's additional pressure on the regime and will curtail their efforts even further. But parallel to maximum pressure, there ought to be also a campaign of maximum support. That means empowerment of the Iranian people to put domestic pressure to force the regime ultimately to paralysis and collapse. That would mean more technological assistance, funding, labor strikes, and what have you. And it has happened before.
Yeah.
Case in point, solidarity movement in Poland, for instance, at the end of the Cold War.
So Reza, what does the average Iranian in Tehran, as they look at what the regime is doing, what are they thinking?
Well, they're thinking that for 44 years we've been primarily occupied by a group of people who are ideologically not at all interested in the livelihood of our own citizens. They're only interested in exporting an ideology beyond our borders and create a modern-day Shiite caliphate to dominate the region and the rest of the world. They are conducting all these campaigns. They are funding all of these proxies at the expense of the Iranian people themselves. So Iranians want liberty. Iranians want freedom. Iranians share the very same values of citizens in democratic country, whether it's the West and other countries in the world, because we believe in human rights. We believe in equality. We believe in putting an end to any kind of discrimination, whether for ideological reasons or religious reasons, or sexual orientation, something totally different than what this regime represents. It does not represent the will and the opinions of my fellow compatriots.
Yeah. Well, but when you look at the regime with these proxy forces firing stuff off at us, do they want a war with the United States? Because we know who's putting those weapons in their hands.
I mean, look, the regime in Iran has tried to sabotage what could have led to legitimate peace in the region. The forces of evil that are fighting via terror, whether it's conducted against our own people or Israel or other nations in the region, they are not committed to peace. They do not want peace. And the only way to have peace is to allow for a two-state solution But that will only occur at the time that these proxies and everybody who's trying to sabotage the peace process are no longer there. So you have to eliminate the problem once and for all. You can kill soldiers and Hamasis and Al-Qaedas of this world, but you cannot kill an ideology. You have to ultimately defeat that ideology that breeds such kind of conduct and comportment by some.
Indeed. He is the exiled crown prince of Iran, Reza Pahlavi. Sir, thank you very much. A real pleasure talking to you today.
Thanks for having me.
You bet.